So your organization is using AI. That's fantastic. You're sitting on this incredible engine for innovation. But how do you stop that engine from accidentally creating some massive liabilities? Well, that's exactly where AI governance, risk, and compliance, or GRC, comes into play. It sounds like a mouthful, I know. But today, we're going to break it all down and show you the guardrails you need to really tame that algorithm.
And if you want to understand why this is such a huge deal right now, just look at the money. In 2024, the private sector poured over $100 billion into AI, and that's just in the US alone. That is a colossal wave of innovation, and it's embedding AI into pretty much every corner of our businesses and our lives.
But you know the saying, with all that incredible power comes a whole new world of risk. Adoption is just moving way faster than oversight, which raises a really critical question. How do we actually harness all the good stuff from AI without creating these massive lurking liabilities? That is the core problem we're going to tackle today. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the new risk reality, what we're all facing. Then we'll dive into the three main pillars of governance that have popped up around the globe. We'll look at the actual law, the EU AI Act, then check out the blueprints from NIST and ISO, and finally, we'll pull it all together to show you how to build a real-world strategy.
First up, the new AI risk reality. You know, governance has really shifted from this nice-to-have ethical chat to a fundamental, can't-ignore-it business necessity. Being proactive about managing risk? Yeah, that's no longer optional.
So what are we actually talking about when we say risks? Well, it can be anything from biased hiring models and accidental data leaks to losing your intellectual property or just plain reputational damage. And then you've got this growing problem of shadow AI. You know, that's when employees use AI tools that the company hasn't approved, creating these huge security and data privacy blind spots. Without a solid GRC approach, these aren't just abstract ideas. They are total business disasters just waiting to happen.
But here's the good news. A global consensus is actually starting to form around how to manage all this. The solution really boils down to three distinct but complementary pillars. You've got a binding law, a voluntary guideline, and a certifiable standard. Let's break them down.
And this table right here really simplifies the entire landscape. First, you have the EU AI Act. That's the actual law with teeth. Then there's the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, which is a super flexible guideline from the US. And finally, you've got ISO 42001, a global standard you can actually get certified for. Now, the key thing to get here is that these aren't competing with each other. They're designed to work together, giving you legal certainty, practical how-to guides, and a way to prove you're trustworthy.
All right, let's start with that first pillar, the law. The EU AI Act is the world's first comprehensive binding legislation for artificial intelligence, and because of what they call extraterritorial reach, it basically affects any organization that does business in or even with Europe. So yeah, it probably affects you.
Now, the Act doesn't just treat all AI the same. It uses a pretty smart risk-based approach. So systems with unacceptable risk, like a government-run social scoring system, are just banned outright. Then you have high-risk stuff, like AI used in credit scoring or hiring. Those face really strict rules about data and human oversight. Limited risk systems, like deepfakes, just have to be transparent about what they are. And the good news is, most AI actually falls into the minimal risk category, where no new rules apply.
And why is every single company paying such close attention to this? Well, here's why. The fines for not complying can go up to 35 million euros or 7% of your global annual turnover, whichever is higher. Yep, that is a number that gets the attention of every single boardroom on the planet.
So if the EU AI Act is the what you have to do, then our next two pillars, the frameworks from NIST and ISO, they're the how. These are the practical blueprints for actually building AI systems you can trust.
The US NIST AI Risk Management Framework, or RMF, is a voluntary guide, but it's hugely influential. It's built around these four core ideas: govern, map, measure, and manage. What this does is it creates a lifecycle approach, helping you build a culture of risk management, understand your AI's context, constantly monitor it, and then, actually act on the risks you find.
And this quote it nails why that first function, govern, is so absolutely critical. The real challenge isn't just building the tech, it's being able to stand in front of your board or your customers or a regulator and explain why an AI did what it did. The NIST framework gives you the language to bridge that gap between the tech team and the C-suite.
And that brings us to our third and final pillar, ISO 42001. This is the world's very first global standard for an AI management system. The easiest way to think about it is like ISO 2701, but for AI instead of information security.
It gives you a structured, auditable, and certifiable process to bake AI governance right into your company's core operations. It's how you turn those nice-sounding principles about responsible AI into concrete actions.
So we've got a law, a guideline, and a standard. Now for the big question. How in the world do you bring them all together? Let's connect the dots and move this whole thing from theory into actual practice.
The key here, the real secret, is to see the overlap. For instance, you have to maintain an inventory of your high-risk AI systems for the EU AI Act. Well, that lines up perfectly with the map function in NIST, and it's also a specific requirement in ISO 42001. So by implementing one, you're already doing a ton of the work for the others. This crosswalk approach saves you from duplicating effort and helps you build one unified strategy.
And listen, this isn't just some academic exercise. It's now a core professional skill. Take the CompTIA SecAI Plus cert. It's the industry's first for AI security. And just look at this breakdown. AI governance, risk, and compliance makes up almost 20% of the entire exam. That tells you everything you need to know about how critical these skills are becoming.
So finally, who actually does this work? Well, AI GRC is a total team sport. It takes collaboration between new, specialized roles like AI governance engineers and risk analysts, working right alongside data scientists, MLOps engineers, and of course, your legal and compliance folks. It's really about building a cross-functional culture of responsibility.
So we'll end with this one big question for you to think about. Is your AI strategy an engine for innovation, or is it quietly building tomorrow's liabilities? Taming the algorithm with a smart GRC strategy isn't about slowing down innovation. It's about building smarter, safer, and with more confidence. The choice is yours, and now you know the frameworks are there to guide you. Thanks for joining me.